So getting into the steps of how exactly this functions. So first of all, there will be a danger of collision. My vehicle will sense some kind of danger of collision. So what it will does, it will show a warning sign in the HMI or the human machine interface. In that, it will show a warning sign, and additionally, it will also apply the brakes. When the vehicle is like closer to the traffic vehicle, when it has moved a little bit more closer to the traffic vehicle, this stage will come. The first stage will come where there will be automatic brakes applied. So there will be some amount of brake applied, which is a speed reduction braking, just to reduce the speed. That kind of brake will be applied in this stage. Post this stage, when there are extremely high danger of collision, like now this vehicle, my vehicle has moved very closer to the traffic vehicle, and there are high risks of collision. This is the second stage, which is a extremely high danger of collision. At this point of time, there will be both warning plus strong automatic brakes. So at this point of time, these brakes will be applied really harsh, like it will be applied very harshly to make the vehicle maintain a safety distance and stop the vehicle while maintaining a safety distance with the vehicle in front. So for this scenario, it's not always necessary, like here it has been depicted in terms of traffic vehicle. It's not always necessary to have traffic vehicle. The same thing can also be possible when there's a pedestrian, or like it's not only about traffic vehicle, it's also possible in terms of pedestrians or any other kind of traffic object. I will understand this more deeply with a video reference. I'll just run a video. You can see how it works. So this is my vehicle where I'm running. My vehicle is moving at this point of time. And here you can see my vehicle stopped. It applied brake while maintaining a safety distance. The same feature works on different kind of scenario. Like here it's being shown as a highway feature. Like it could work in different kind of feature. The main algorithm will work the same way. All of these are longitudinal controls. The brakes are applied. So this is my vehicle, and there's a traffic vehicle in front, and it anticipated a collision risk, and it stopped at that point while maintaining a safety distance. So the same thing, there could be different kinds of scenario, like highway scenario or other kind of scenarios where my vehicle is moving and suddenly the vehicle in front stops, and at that point of time it has to apply brake. So all of these are the example of the longitudinal control in terms of different kind of scenarios or different kind of traffic vehicles, etc. Here, this is an example with a pedestrian. So as I mentioned, it's not always necessary that it will be with a traffic vehicle. It could be also with any kind of pedestrian or any other kind of traffic obstacles. So here, the same logic, the same algorithm has worked, the same longitudinal control has taken place with different kind of obstacles. So this is another scenario with cross traffic, where here this traffic vehicle suddenly comes into picture. Initially, it was not under any the field of view, and it suddenly appears, and that's why my vehicle applies brake. It senses the traffic vehicle, and it applies brake. And this is like the collision avoidance feature. So it applies the brake, and the longitudinal control works. So the next scenario is the lateral control scenario, as in how the lateral maneuver works. This works here, instead of brake, we use steer. Say, for example, here this green vehicle is my ego vehicle, which is running at a very high speed. It's running at 100 km/h speed. And there's another vehicle, the yellow vehicle is a traffic vehicle, which is an ego lane. And at the same time, in this particular scenario, there is no vehicle in the adjacent lane. So in that case, because my vehicle is running at a very high speed, if it tries to get into the longitudinal control feature by applying brakes, there could be high jerk, or there could be high acceleration levels, which may interfere with the comfort of the passengers who are inside the vehicle. So the jerk levels could be really high, and at this point of time, instead of brake control, there should be steer control. it should not apply brakes, because that brake will lead to a high jerks or the high acceleration levels, which are not preferable. That's why instead of longitudinal control, we will work into the lateral control. So how the lateral control functions? The lateral control is basically dependent on the steer feature. So instead of applying brakes, it will do the steer control. It will get into the steer control mode, and it will change its lane from its current lane to the adjacent lane. So that's how the collision avoidance feature objective will be fulfilled. In this diagram, as you can see, here the velocity is increasing. So if the velocity is high, and this is my ego vehicle, so if the ego vehicle is coming near to the traffic vehicle and the velocity is really high, it's not preferable to apply brakes and do the longitudinal control. Instead, it should do a lateral control, which is the steer control. So what it does is changing the lane. So again, with the lateral maneuver also, there could be, it's not necessary that there will be vehicles only. There could be pedestrians, or there could be another kind of traffic obstacles. The same thing I just explain once more with like a video, so that it's more clear to all of you. So here the pedestrian is there and my vehicle maneuvers. So instead of getting into the brake controls, the vehicle steers and then comes back into its ego lane. That is what is the feature of lateral control. So the lateral maneuver works when instead of brake controls, there could be steer control. The same thing, like there could be a third way of implementing the same thing, where there's both longitudinal control and lateral control. When the ego vehicle is applying both brakes and steer at the same time, because it might be feasible to apply brakes, and then it is also possible to steer the vehicle. That kind of control is also there, which is the third category, which is nothing but the combination of both the features in a single architecture. So this is about the state of art significance of collision avoidance. I'll be talking about I'll be talking about all the levels of automation involved in the autonomous driving. So it all started with the no automation level, like L0 level. So at L0 level, there was it's complete manual driving, zero autonomy. The driver performs all the tasks like that. In level 1 and level 2, you can see there's steering, like the driver is holding the steering wheel. So that is the driver assistance and partial automation. So in case of driver assistance, vehicle is controlled by the driver, but some assist features are included in the vehicle design. In the next level of autonomy, where there's more autonomy than the previous two levels, this is partial automation, where some features are there, like some acceleration or some steering features are there, but a driver is still holding the steering wheel. The driver is still in control of the steering wheel. Moving on to the next level of autonomy, the level 3, which is the conditional automation, you can see that the driver is holding only one hand, like with one hand. So this is the conditional automation, where driver is a necessity, but is not required to monitor the environment. So basically, under this level 2 and level 3, this collision avoidance feature comes under picture. Whatever we have discussed so far, where does it lie in the autonomy of the vehicle? It lies here, exactly like in L2 and L3 levels. Moving towards L4 and L5, you can see L4 and L5 feature, driver will not be hands-on to the steering wheel. So there will be a high automation in case of L4 feature. And in L5 is a fully automated vehicle, like it's a fully autonomous vehicle. So currently, most of the OEMs are working for L1 and L2 features. For advancement towards autonomy and the safety critical applications, collision avoidance plays a very major role. In the entire autonomous driving application, collision avoidance plays a very important role. The collision avoidance feature works, all the autonomous driving feature works in the vehicle system. Like, what is the lifespan of the feature. So this V cycle, as we call it, as a V cycle. So this V shape, this thing is basically the life cycle of model-based development. So it all starts with the project definition, like there will be user requirements, like what is the requirement of that feature, what is our objective. It starts with the project definition. Moving after the user specification and requirements, there will be a detailed design. And based on the detailed design, there will be code implementation. There will be a code, there will be algorithms written in the implementation phase. Post the algorithm writing is done and the design development is done. After that development phase, there comes the validation or the verification part, where there comes a lot of testing, like testing of model-based development, testing of the actual vehicle, etc. So that is how the entire feature works in the V cycle, how it works, the entire project works. This is in specific about the performance analysis, how we analyze the vehicle, the testing, or how after the algorithm has been implemented, how it is being tested on the vehicle body, or before that in a simulated platform, how it works. So basically, it starts with MIL, which is model in loop. Then it moves on to SIL, software in loop, then PIL, processor in loop, and HIL, hardware in loop. So model in loop is the vehicle plant model. It interacts with the controller, like whatever the outputs from the vehicle plant model in terms of vehicle speed or vehicle acceleration will be fed into the controller. Controller will output some kind of logic, whatever the logic is, whatever the feature we are working. In this case, collision avoidance feature. Based on that, it will give an output to the plant model again, the vehicle model again, and the vehicle will perform, and then it will fed the inputs again to the controller. So this kind of, it's an iterative process. The same thing runs into the software in loop phase as well, where instead of a controller, we have C files. So controller could be on different platforms, like we use MATLAB or other kind of platforms. So instead of MATLAB, there will be C files generated, and that's how the plant model or the vehicle model will interact. And the motive of these two testing levels are basically to see if the actual results are equivalent to the expected results. Like the results or the kind of results we want should match with the expected results of the feature. So there are some kind of scenarios, like the testing is done basically on different kind of road scenarios, like there could be straight road or curved road, or under different kind of weather situations, like rainy or dry weather, or different kind of traffic scenarios like congested traffic or sparse traffic. There could be different kind of system indexes also, like acceleration. These are the parameters of vehicle, like acceleration, vehicle jerk, environment, driving space, etc. There are some control performance indexes also, like based on what I should know that the testing is a foolproof testing and the vehicle is working properly under the collision avoidance feature. So there are some performance parameters like overshoot, like it should come under peak overshoot. There are some threshold values, like it should not go beyond 5% overshoot, or the steady state error, there should be plus minus 2 kmph steady state error, not more than that, not going beyond that. Then a settling time should be as less as possible. So these are basically the performance indexes based on which the testing is done. Once all these simulation-based testing is done, the real testing on the vehicle body is performed at the production level, when on-road vehicle testing works. Like inside the vehicle, it's being observed, it's being tested that whether the vehicle is working with the feature or not. So this is an example of the vehicle in a simulated platform. Here you can see we have taken a simulated platform. This white vehicle is my EVO vehicle, and this yellow view is the FOV. Here, the collision avoidance feature is being implemented inside the vehicle, and it's testing on the simulated platform whether it's working or not. There could be many other tools, like it can be implemented with MATLAB, C, C++, Python. Similarly, simulation platforms could be on CarMaker, CarSim, CarDAV, etc. This green and red thing on the right-hand side of this diagram is basically the path of the entire vehicle body, like the ego vehicle, how what kind of path it has traversed so far. These are basically the standards and protocols defined by international authorities to ensure the safety critical operation of autonomous vehicle. Different organization, different government have different kind of standards, like the autonomous vehicle feature should follow such kind of standards like ISO 26262 standard, Euro NCAP standard, China NCAP, NHTSA. These are the standards which are followed, which must be followed before the vehicle is launched with that kind of feature inside it in the market. So before the launch of autonomous vehicle in the market with the features, it must follow these standards. These standards are being regulated by government of different regions. There are many standards depending on a different kind of government. These standards are being regulated. There are also some standards for the feature development, like a MATLAB platform should follow MAP guidelines, a C code platform should follow MISRA guidelines, etc. So this is the evolution of the autonomous driving features. It all started with blind spot warning, lane departure warning. Then it moved on to either adaptive cruise control or lane centering, collision avoidance. So basically, as we move towards traffic jam assist, highway chauffeur, and fully automated vehicle, there's increase in level of autonomy. So fully automated vehicle is having all the previous features. Highway chauffeur is having all the previous features. As it evolved from the blind spot warning to the fully automated vehicle, it kept on evolving with the autonomy of the vehicle. It kept on enhancing the features and advancing the automation inside the vehicle body. So that was the evolution. That's how the autonomous driving feature evolved. Now there comes the question of like, what are the career and job opportunities basically in this kind of autonomous driving in general, or the collision avoidance features, such kind of features. So they are basically this autonomous driving domain is an emerging market. Like there are a lot of career and job opportunities, especially in the research and academics. People can pursue higher studies in autonomous driving. People can get a lot of exposure into the robotics or the artificial intelligence. As it's an emerging technology, there's a lot of innovation, patent filing, publications, journals, conferences. Currently, as you can see, Bosch is leading that patent driving race. People can also join in some service industries like Tata Elxsi, Tech Mahindra, Tier 1 companies, Robert Bosch, Continental, Denso, some OEMs like BMW, Jaguar, Mercedes, etc. So basically, as this is an emerging technology and there's a lot of scope and a lot of career job opportunities, a lot of research and academics into the future, people can really pursue it. There's very bright future in this particular autonomous driving domain. So that's all from my end.